Hola a todos, hello everyone, and welcome to my very first episode of the Expat Check In. My name is Luis, and I'm from Peru, Latin America, specifically South America. And if you ever felt like a local in a country where you can't pronounce the street names, you're in the right place. I'm a Latino who came to Poland 8 years ago. 8 años viviendo en Polonia. That's right. That's 8 winters, 8 years in Poland, thousands of pierogi, and a whole lot of cultural confusion. I started this podcast because whether you're in Warsaw, Mexico City, Lima, or Tokyo, being an expat isn't just a phase, it's a lifestyle. It's about that feeling of being confused, lost, and forever feeling like you do not belong anywhere, but you belong everywhere at the same time. In this podcast, I'm going to talk about the real stuff, the crisis, the hilarious misunderstandings, and how we build a home when our hearts are split in two continents. This is a space that's friendly, welcoming, and a little bit messy, just like living abroad. So grab a coffee, a mate, or just a cup of tea, and let's check in. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button and follow me on Spotify. I do want to hear your stories, so let me know if there's any specific topic that you would like me to touch on. Now, let's get into today's topic. Why I moved to Poland for 3 years and I stayed for 8. So basically, I moved to Poland back in 2017. I think it was around September, right? So just a little backstory. Before I moved to Poland, I had lived in Denmark. I lived there for like a year, and I moved to Denmark when I was 16, from 2015 to 2016. I think so. It was 1 year. It was just for a year. And then I moved back to Peru. I absolutely loved my experience back in Denmark. It was like the best thing that's ever happened to me. It really changed my life. Living abroad really genuinely changed my life. Then I went back to Peru because I couldn't stay there longer. Bear in mind that when I moved to Denmark, I didn't know English. I just knew Spanish, so it was very hard, very difficult, but can talk about that in a different episode. So I went back to Peru for around a year. When I went back to Peru, I was I was actually very depressed. I just didn't like living in Peru anymore. So I was just trying to find any possible way to come back to Europe. So I remember there I was studying medicine and I was just applying for any university. I was trying to find any scholarships to be able to move to Peru, to Europe, right? And there's just one situation that actually marked me a lot, was that I remember that I applied for a scholarship in Czech Republic, right? And I was waiting for the results. I was waiting to hear any news or something like that. And then once I went out with some friends, and then I just told my friends, oh, I applied for this scholarship in Czech Republic. I'm waiting for the results. And then one of them said, oh, I also applied for the same scholarship and I got it. And I was just like, I was happy for him, but I also felt very sad. And my friends somehow started making fun of me. They laughed and I just went home and I was just like, this is really bad. I was just really sad. Anyway, fast forward a couple of months, I had also applied for a different scholarship to Poland to come to Poland and study and do my bachelor's, right? But I didn't hear from them like at all. I remember that I had applied for a bachelor's in international relations, if I'm not mistaken. And then all of a sudden, I was at uni. I was studying medicine, and then I got a message saying like, "Hey, we want to have an interview with you. Are you available in the next half an hour?" And I was like, "Wow!" So I remember like I left university. I didn't even ask for permission for my professor. To my professor, I left, ran home, had the interview, and then I kept waiting. Right, I kept waiting. I remember that at home, my family was telling me like, you should just stop dreaming. Maybe it's not gonna happen. Just get over it. And that was making me feel even worse. But then all of a sudden one day I woke up, and but back then like we were still using Skype, and I got a message, a DM on Skype saying like, hey, we want to tell you that unfortunately, I mean, the first thing that I saw on that message was the word unfortunately, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't get it. That's it. But then I kept reading and it said, unfortunately, we do not have any more spots left for international relations, but we do have spots for project management. Would you like to take that? Would you be okay with that? And of course, I didn't even think about it. I just said yes. Um, and then from then, it just was madness because they needed me to come to Poland in the next 2 weeks, I think. So I said yes, of course. And just so you know, it was a really good offer because like it was a scholarship granted by European Union, right? So they were paying for my whole studies. They were gonna pay for the 3 years of the bachelor's. They were gonna also give me a monthly allowance for my expenses. Um, so I was like, yeah, definitely yes. So I accepted the offer. My family didn't believe it. They were like, what? No, like, what are you talking about? Because it was just all of a sudden. And as I said, I was studying medicine, right? So it was a lot of talking with my family, my parents, my sisters. They were really asking me, like, are you sure you want to leave? Are you sure you want to go there? Like, are you sure you don't want to continue with medicine? And to be honest, I really loved medicine. Like, I believe it's my passion, but I just really didn't feel right living in Peru anymore. So I was like, yeah, I'm leaving. I remember that I had like only 2 weeks to arrange everything, to do all my documents, to get the Polish visa. Um, but luckily in Peru, you can get it like in a week or something. So it was pretty fast, pretty quickly. I remember like the university here in Poland, they sent me all the papers but via mail, and then I had to buy the tickets to come here. I think I paid more than $1,000, which is like, I don't know, 5,000, no, maybe around 4,000 zloty. And for Peru, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. I remember that they said that we were gonna have like a summer school, and then we were gonna start like the semester. So all in all, I was talking with the recruiter from the university, and they told me, yeah, there are around 4 more or 5 more Peruvians that are coming. You can text them, you can like talk to them, so you can come at the same time. You can take the same flight, and I did that. But back then I was living in the coast of Peru, and they were living in Lima, which is the capital. So I didn't know anybody. It was really hard to pack my bags again, even though I didn't really think it twice when I said yes, but it was really hard to do it all over again. I was super scared. I mean, mind you, I was like what, um, 17 or 18 back then, and I just decided to go for it. I mean, packed my bags, did all the paperwork that had to be done, said goodbye to my friends. That was really hard. And yeah, I mean, I took the flight. I decided to move to Poland, and I remember that I didn't know any of the other Peruvians because with all of them, they had known that they got the scholarship like a month in advance, and I was the only one who was told that I was coming or that I got the offer only 2 weeks after before coming to Poland. So I met them on the flight from Peru to Germany, and then we were flying from Germany to Poland. So I remember that we arrived in Poland, and it was crazy because like back in October, I think back then in 2017, it was already cold, at least compared to what we call cold in Peru, which is not like this. It was also dark. I'm not really sure. Maybe there was not snow, but I remember landing in Poland and we were like all amazed by this new language. I do remember also that when I was in Peru, I went to Google Translate and I put there like the word hello and I translated it into Polish. And I saw that the translation was Czech, and I was like, what's even that? Because like if you don't know Polish, the word hello, it only has one vowel and the rest are consonants. And I was like, what am I getting myself into? But we arrived in Poland. We heard the language. We were very confused. Luckily, I had already lived abroad, so it wasn't that bad or that of a shock. moving to a new country, especially that back then I already knew English, luckily. We arrived, we realized that we were around 200 foreigners, 200 exchange students. The director from the university, she picked us up, and then they took us to our accommodation because we were all staying like in a students or international students hotel kinda, or dormitory. Once we arrived, we were really shocked because we were so many. There were so many people from all over the world, and like when we arrived in this city called Katowice, it was so different from what I'm used to, especially from Peru, but at the same time, it felt a bit familiar in the sense that I knew I was in Europe. So I was like, finally, I was really happy about that. Then university, and then we had summer school where basically it was just a lot of trips, like introducing us to Poland, getting to know the city, what to expect, how the semesters were going to go, all the paperwork we had to do. It was a lot. It was a lot, to be honest. But it was a really good experience. I really loved my time during uni. I didn't really enjoy much my time living in that city. All those 3 years in Poland in that city were not really good, not really great, but I can leave that for another episode. But in general, that was my whole experience. I mean, it was such a terrifying feeling, but also great feeling knowing that I had the opportunity to move again to Poland, especially after having so many people telling me that I was really not gonna make it again, that I should like just step on the ground, touch grass, and like get used to my new life. But I just knew that I really wanted it. So I am a true believer, a firm believer of like if you want it, you will get it. Or if you want to go get it. That's what I did. So if you have any questions on how to move to Poland, where to look for scholarships, or any advice on how to move abroad, just let me know. Just leave it down in the comments, and I can make a whole episode about that. But yeah, in general, like that's what made me move to Poland. That's what brought me here. Initially, it was just going to be 3 years, because that was what the bachelor's was going to last. But I ended up staying. It's been 8 years now. I'm here. I have a cat. But that's the main story. I did my bachelor's in project management. I graduated, had my graduation party here. It was a whole new experience because, as I said, in Peru, I just was there like for a year. I never really went to university. I had never worked in Peru really, and everything really happened here in Poland. So I don't know, it sounds weird to say, but I feel like I grew up in Poland in that sense. Like I matured in Poland, because like I finished high school when I was 16. And as soon as I finished, because I finished high school in December, and in January next year, I left to Denmark. So I didn't really experience how it is to grow in that way in Peru. Everything happened here in Europe. I'm happy it did. It had its ups and downs because living abroad is not that easy, even though everybody thinks that living abroad is just traveling around, like partying and getting to know and meet new people, which is true also, but it's not the only side of living abroad. That's it. That's my story. That's how I moved to Poland. That's what happened. That's how it happened. If you want me to go into the details, you want me to talk more about how to do it or so on, just let me know down in the comments and I can make a new episode. But that's it for today. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you like and subscribe. As I said, follow me on YouTube, and also follow me on Spotify, because I will try to upload a new episode every week or every 2 weeks. On our next episode, we're going to talk about Christmas and the holiday seasons and the main differences between Latin America, Peru specifically, and Poland, and how difficult it can be for any expat living abroad to spend it in a foreign country and not with your family, specifically when you hear everybody saying, oh, I'm going home. And for any reason you're just staying there. You're not going anywhere. So let's talk about that on our next episode. Stay curious, stay brave, and I'll see you at the next check-in. Hasta la próxima. Do zobaczenia.